Our coverage of this deadly attack in New York City does continue right now. A cowardly act of terror against innocent people. That, according to New York City's mayor, warning the city to stay alert.
I want to ask all New Yorkers to be vigilant. We ask all New Yorkers to live by the idea if you see something, say something, tell an officer immediately if you see anything unusual.
That from a security briefing that finished just moments ago. The First Lady is also in New York today, tweeting out her support, saying, "My heart breaks for NYC today. Thoughts and prayers as we monitor the situation." Here's what we know at this moment. A man driving a Home Depot truck onto a bike and pedestrian path went on to apparently murder 8 people this afternoon and injure another 15. The latest details from the NYPD.
After the collision, the driver of the truck, a 29-year-old male, exited the vehicle brandishing 2 handguns. A uniformed police officer assigned to the 1st Precinct confronted the subject and shot him in the abdomen. The subject was wounded and transported to a local hospital. A paintball gun and a pellet gun were recovered at the scene.
And on this video, you can actually see the suspect moving through the street, apparently with one of those guns, essentially fake guns. This was in broad daylight. The video appears to match what law enforcement have described, a youngish male, either late 20s or early 30s, with a Middle Eastern appearance. NYPD now has the suspect in custody. Senior law enforcement officials telling NBC News this was believed to be an intentional act and is now being investigated tonight by the NYPD as a possible terrorist incident. I repeat, the NYPD tonight, this Halloween evening after this harrowing event, with 8 dead, is investigating this as a terrorist incident. Now, witnesses were shaken immediately this afternoon over an attack occurring, we should note, just blocks from the World Trade Center.
Guy got out with like his biker jacket and a stripe, started shooting up the place.
When I go down, I see 2 gentlemen laying right there in the bike lane with tire marks across their body, and you could tell that they're not here no more.
How many gunshots did you hear? Over 5. It was very fast. It was one after another.
This is an unfolding terror investigation at this hour. I'm Ari Melber, live in our newsroom in New York, and I want to bring in now Jim Kavanaugh, the retired ATF special agent in charge, and Frank Figliuzzi, a former assistant director for counterintelligence at the FBI. Jim, this is a sad and tough day for New York. Walk us through what you made of the briefing we heard from authorities, what we know at this hour, and whether, as we always ask in a situation like this, whether people have reason to be afraid, or from what you're hearing and what we're learning, this appears to be a closed incident in New York.
Well, people have reason to be alert. Ari, that's what I would say. I think it seems like it's a closed incident. As the hours tick by, things get safer when we don't have a quick follow-on attack. But it pays to be alert all the time, and into the evening, some other actor could be inspired. I think what we got out of the news conference is the police are pretty sure they're on a terrorist lead here. The behavior, the long crime scene, 7 to 14 blocks in a pedestrian area, the rental truck, the crash into the school bus, the coming out with the BB guns or paintball guns, the yelling Allah Akbar, all this is consistent with other terrorist attacks around the world.
Jim, let's take 2 of those pieces of evidence that you raise here as people digest this incident, not what people want to be hearing about, obviously, on a Halloween evening, a time of celebration typically around the country for families, and certainly in New York City. We're looking at some of these overhead scenes, 6:04 p.m., 8 dead, 15 injured. 2 of those deaths were pronounced dead at the hospital, according to NYPD. And you're citing 2 pieces of evidence. One, those types of pellet guns, as you mentioned, on the scene, and 2, accounts now from law enforcement and witnesses of the yelling of Abu Akbar. Walk us through both of those pieces of evidence.
Well, you know, we've seen terrorists around the world use fake guns, real guns, but we've seen them use hoax bombs as well. We've seen these vehicle attacks. This guy was clearly suicidal, Ari. He knew he would be confronted by the police eventually if he's mowing everybody down. He knows he's holding handguns. He knows what police officers will do in a situation like that. They'll shoot him. So Is he an inspired actor on the internet? I think that's very likely. We don't know. Is he a one-off guy, not a directed attack by a real direct connection to ISIS or Al-Qaeda? More likely, it's an inspired attack. He's a mad dog, lone mad dog doing this attack. So I think they're on their game here. They're going to get his computers. They'll be searching his apartment. And they'll be interviewing him, and he'll be singing like he's on a Broadway play because he's trying to tell them why he did this and give all his reasons. And that's why he's yelling in the street his reasons for his mass murder.
Right. So you're speaking to both not only the potential motive, but also what we know about this suspect, limited at this hour because of the way he spoke out. I have Frank with me and Jim with me, but I want to ask you both to stay with me because we now have unfolding here in what is a breaking news scenario, Ron Allen on the phone, who is actually very close to the scene in Lower Manhattan. Ron, where are you and what do you know?
I'm just at the end of the bike path, just 2 blocks from the World Trade Center. I'm actually in the middle of a crowd of students from Stuyvesant High School, the school very close to the scene of the attacks. And they're all leaving the school now. They were hunkered down and they were there on hold, but they've all been streaming out of the school and walking down across West Street, some wearing Halloween costumes and so forth, and it's quite a scene out here. We've also seen a lot of parents with their kids coming into this neighborhood. West Street is something of an urban highway, and the bike path lines it. But it's also a residential neighborhood. There's a lot of apartment buildings, condominiums here, so a lot of families live in this area, which is why, of course, there's a bike path here because it's a recreation area that's heavily used, especially even during the middle of the day. It's around 3 o'clock or so when all this started happening. But at this point, there are still a number of ambulances here. We saw the last of the injured taken away about an hour or so ago. The police have the area still sealed off. There doesn't seem to be any sense of alarm or concern from the authorities as if they are trying to find something or find anyone. Things have sort of really taken a dial down over the last hour or so.
Ron, speak to...
still really trying to get their heads around what's happened here.
Yeah, Ron, speak to that point, because we are looking here at live images from the scene. We're seeing the authorities, NYPD, and other plainclothes police and other authorities in suits.